Get the latest lacrosse news and updates in the Lax World Lacrosse Report at PressBoxOnline.com. Updated daily with Lax news, info, and blogs only at PressBoxOnline.com. And welcome back to Inside PressBox. The Orioles kicked off spring training play this week in Sarasota, and PressBox Orioles reporter Matt Palmer has already seen signs of uncertainty. You can read his articles from the Orioles Report at PressBoxOnline.com, and we welcome you, Matt. And you and I and Jim Henneman, two of us each week, are going back and forth on a question. Right. It's not a point-counterpoint, but this week we asked who is the real Brian Matusz, and I think we're both up in the air about that.
Absolutely. When you look at what Brian has become over the last year, it's a pale shadow of what he was when he was drafted in 2009 with that first-round pick. Brian now has to reprove himself. He has to reinvent himself. The Orioles have to do that with him. They have to be slow and they have to be steady. Brian was brought up pretty fast and he got the fast track. And now I look at it and I say, they have to go find a different Brian Matusz.
One of the things I wrote in my response is the Orioles, as bad as they've been the last 14 years, and they've really gotten bad the last 7 or 8, when they had Mussina, they were still an okay team. But one of the things, they get these pitchers, it's mostly pitchers, that have these egos and act like they are Mike Mussina, and without the resume to prove it. And Matusz was sort of, to me, a little bit of a jerk. He bristled even when his ERA was in the mid-5s a year and a half ago.
I mean, it's hard to bring a guy down from being a first-round pick and saying you have to go and be down in the minors and show that you belong here. And really, I think Buck Showalter said, when you start to listen to us, then you'll be up here. And it was kind of that ego check that he really needed to put himself back in place. And I think he admitted his conditioning wasn't where it needed to be either.
Isn't it a case, though, that bad organizations end up treating a player with his potential like they need him to be rather than what he is at that moment, and that's where they get into trouble?
Right. They need these guys more than ever to be superstars. This franchise, this organization has needed that badly. And in some cases, they've just rushed these guys. When you look at it, none of these young pitchers, including Brian over the last couple of years, were ready for the spotlight, were ready to be in the rotation. And really, the Orioles banked all of their reputation, all of their seasons on these guys.
Let's talk about the offensive side of the ledger for a minute, because I think we'll agree that the pitching's going to be a little bit better. There's more depth there throughout the staff. Brian Roberts, what do you think the ball club can hope and keep their fingers crossed to get out of him?
I think they have to be realistic. They have to look at the last couple of seasons and say he's barely played. And when he has tried, it's been slow and unsteady, and really they can't bank their second base position on him. They can't say that he's going to be their leadoff guy. If he plays every couple days at this point, I think they're winners in this, because they're paying him so much money, and really they're never going to get in return what they invested in him.
The other guy that they're paying a lot of money to, relatively speaking, because that's not a lot of money anymore, $10 million, is Nick Markakis. Right. Are they going to get more of the 2007, 2008, 2009 Markakis, or the 10 and 11 Markakis, who's sliding just a little bit?
If you study what he's done over the last couple of years, you start to see that he's being slowed down by injuries and by time. He's in there, almost every game. That's the thing, is the Orioles have been able to count on him, even if his production's not quite where it was. I think what you saw in 2006, 2007, and 2008 was really his potential. And I think now he's a much older 27-year-old player than you're used to seeing, and I think that he put on a lot of miles very early on, and I'm not sure that he's ever going to be the guy that they really thought he was going to be, which was going to be a 25 home run plus guy.
Two players I want to ask you about in light of contracts signed recently by Ryan Zimmerman with the Nationals and Yadier Molina in St. Louis, which I think is the worst contract in the history of the game, seriously, are Matt Wieters and Adam Jones. What are their chances of signing extensions at the appropriate time with the Orioles?
I think they stand a far greater chance with Matt Wieters than they do Adam Jones, and I know people around Baltimore would love to see them keep both. But I think the potential there is probably for Wieters, because Wieters is a guy that is embedding himself in the community a little bit more. He's not as impatient as I think Adam Jones is. Adam Jones really, really wants to win. And he's a guy that goes and puts his all out there, and you see it in his face. And I think he's likely to get frustrated and to listen to some of these other big-name ball clubs throw out offers. I don't think he's going to sign halfway through this season. I think he's going to take this all the way to the end.
All right. Matt Palmer, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you. Look forward to talking to you during the course of the season.
Absolutely.
All right. If you haven't been out to the Maryland Home and Garden Show quite yet at Timonium Fairgrounds, be sure to stop by and see the Fan Cave, designed and built by our friends Mr. Basement, all set up to be your ultimate in-home experience. It won Best in Show this year and features audio and video from Gramophone, as well as some amazing sports memorabilia and furniture. You can see more from Mr. Basement's Fan Cave at PressBoxOnline.com in the videos section. And stay tuned. Next up, my friend Matt Zenitz will be here, and we'll talk about this year's upcoming NFL Draft. Don't touch that dial. Inside PressBox is presented by Freedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Freedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs.